angels are calling you out to play. Come on, we'll make you feel right at home. Good day, Vail. Good day, Vail. Let's see what lies in store for you. There's so many things to see and do. Summer, winter, spring or fall, you're home in the Rockies as it all. So gear up, get ready to plan your day. The ideas are brewing, you're on your way. The fun is waiting outside your door. Good day, Vail. Good day, Vail.
Hi, and welcome to Good Day Vail, a program dedicated to help you live your best life in the Vail Valley. My name is Cece Zach, and I'm a transplant from the Northeast, and I'm also the host of this show. And this show, Good Day Vail, was developed with you in mind, helping you live your best life by learning from locals about how they thrive in the mountains. This show is designed to be your eyes and ears about all things to enrich your daily life, as well as become part of the community. So what do we have for you today? What's in store for Good Day Vail? And this topic is really something that has helped me dream professional and personal dreams that I never thought possible. I reached professional goals in the corporate world that I never thought possible. And believe it or not, 63 million Americans of us do this every year. They roughly participate 50 hours in that year, and 44% of these individuals have a lower mortality rate, believe it or not. 98% report that they have an enriched purpose in life. And what these individuals do, what I've done in my background, represents about $140 billion in annual service revenue that is actually given back. So have you guessed what it is today? It's volunteering. So stay tuned to meet two amazing women from the Valley who are no strangers to the world of volunteering. Brannigan, a local resident and a neighbor of mine, as well as volunteer extraordinaire, as well as the Vail Valley 2020 Volunteer of the Year, Joanna Kerwin, who actually has a day job as the manager of Engel and Vocals. So please stay tuned to Good Day Vail so that you can learn how to give back to the community, volunteer, and potentially reduce your mortality rate as well.
Good day, Vail. Good day, Vail. Good day, Vail. Good day, Vail.
Welcome back to Good Evening Vail. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm so excited to have these two volunteer extraordinaire women with me today, Joanna and Carol. Thank you so much for spending your time with us. Before we get into the topic of volunteering, I think it's really important for our viewers to know a little bit about the two of you. So how long have you been in the Valley and what keeps you here?
Joanna? Yeah, you go.
I've been in the Valley since 2007, and when I moved here, I just loved the community. I loved all the activities, and I loved the community. And what keeps me here is truly a sense of community and how much everybody contributes to making this a fabulous place to live.
And how did you get here?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I was working in Denver for Wells Fargo, and an opportunity came to be in the private bank up here as a private banker. And I was so surprised when they said there were 3 requirements, and one of the requirements was to volunteer in the community. I thought, wait, I'm qualified for the job, but now you want me to go out and volunteer in the community. And I just couldn't believe what a great experience it was to get really involved and then continue my passion in volunteering in the community.
So it seems like you're not going anywhere for a long time. Okay.
No. I've shifted into real estate, and this is my home, and this is where I plan on staying.
Oh, fantastic. Now, Carol, your background's a little bit different.
A little bit different. I grew up in the New York area and spent my whole working life there in Long Island, New York, and New Jersey. Spent over 30 years working in the theater in New York, and when I started contemplating retiring, I thought I would like to do something different than what I'm doing with the second part of my life. And I'd been coming to the Vail Valley to ski for the last maybe 10 years or so, and I thought, I don't know, maybe I could live there. And so I thought I would give it a try, and we've been here just a little over 5 years, and the transition was so smooth, and I love living here so much. It was one of the best decisions I made.
Oh, that's awesome. And for our viewers, Carol's also a neighbor of mine who I actually met on the pickleball court. So if you haven't seen the pickleball episode, please know that that's a wonderful way to meet new people in the community. So, all right, a little bit about volunteering. So, Carol, how did you get into it in the Valley? You mentioned retirement, but
Right.
when you and I talked before, I don't think you were sure about retiring, right?
Right. So I retired somewhat early, and I thought, well, I know that there are opportunities out here in the arts, and maybe when I get out here, perhaps I'll still work a little bit. So the first opportunity that I had was to be a mountain host. I knew when I moved out here, I used to love when I would come out and ski and see people out there plant. Go ahead.
And is a mountain host considered a red coat?
So that's the red coat is their nickname because we wear red coats. But I think the actual name is mountain host. And one of my favorite things to do in the world is to plan someone's ski day. So I thought this would be perfect for me. So my husband and I volunteered the first winter we were here at Beaver Creek, and we loved it. And talk about community, we immediately met all these wonderful, wonderful people that were on our Saturday day. So that was our first opportunity. And as I made more connections and started volunteering more, I thought, I don't think I need to work. I don't think I need to have someone tell me, where I have to be and how many hours I have to put in. So one of the things I like about volunteering is the flexibility here in the Valley. Pick and choose what you want to do and how you want to spend your time.
Oh, what a great story. That's a fabulous story. Now, Joanna, you mentioned that Wells Fargo said one of the criteria for moving was volunteering. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it's interesting. I also started out as a mountain host, a red coat in Beaver Creek. That was my first stint of volunteering, and I thought, well, that's good. It's once a week for the entire season. So I did that, and then I had the opportunity to meet some volunteers with the Vail Valley Foundation. And they encouraged me to join their volunteer team. At the same time, I joined one of the Rotary clubs, and I was also a mountain host a town host for the town of Vail. So I was volunteering across a number of organizations. But my passion really ended up with the Vail Valley Foundation and the opportunities that they had for volunteering.
So the both of you mentioned that you started off as redcoats, which is a position that is held by many different people. There's a large volume of those types of volunteer opportunities on the mountain. Mm-hmm. We're not going to spend that much time with those because I think yours are a little bit more interesting. But for those of you that are looking for something to do on the mountain, there are just a plethora of volunteer opportunities there. So let's shift gears a little bit and talk about where you did start. So Joanna, you mentioned you started at VBF. Mm-hmm. So what role was that?
Oh my goodness, the first volunteer position I had was for Hold'em for Hope casino night. And I had never just shown up to volunteer for an event before, but I thought I'll be open to it. So they assigned me the position of being a blackjack dealer. Which was very entertaining because I'd never been a blackjack dealer and I'd never even played blackjack. So I just went in with an open mind, and we had a fabulous time. So my first volunteer stint was really educational and entertaining.
That's awesome. So you learned a new skill immediately.
I learned a new skill. Yeah. Well, volunteering, you learn lots of skills. You can be a parking attendant, a host, venue security or a VIP. You can be a course marshal. I mean, volunteering in this valley, you learn lots of new skills.
Do you feel like you could go to Vegas now after that stint? Now, Carol, what about you?
There's been a couple of different ones, but the largest one in my life right now is with Bravo Vail. I was just actually telling Joanna before we came on that I knew about Vail Dance because they used to come to the theater that I worked at. And I'd never spent a summer here, so our first summer I started hearing about this thing called Bravo Vail, and that the New York Philharmonic and the Philadelphia Orchestra and the Dallas Symphony came every year. I was like, that's amazing. So I immediately wanted to get involved in that. So we started ushering there, and over the last couple of years we have moved into a coordinator position there so that we coordinate. There's over 100 volunteers that usher at Bravo Vail. So it's a pretty big deal. There's, I think, over 30 main stage events and then a lot of smaller events. So it's a very, very busy 6 weeks in my life, but I love doing it. So
if I do the math, 30 times 100, that's a lot of moving parts
Yes.
for a volunteer to be managing. And as I recall, you said you have help from 2 or 3 other people, but
yes, we do. We do it. We have another couple that has been doing it for 8 years. So we're just sort of supporting them at this point. But it's a great place to volunteer because even though we have over 100 volunteers, you can volunteer one night or you can volunteer for every night, which is one of the things I love about the opportunities here in the Vail Valley. I think organizations make it very flexible, depending on how you want to spend your time and how much time you want to spend.
You know, it's fun to hear because you're talking about a summer event. And there's so many other things to do, summer, winter, fall, and spring. So we're going to take a short break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about some of the specifics on ways for you to find your passion volunteering here in the Valley.
Good day, Vail. Good day, Vail. Good day, Vail. Good day, Vail.
Welcome back to Good Evening Vail. I'm here with Brannigan and Joanna Kerwin discussing the volunteer opportunities here in the Valley. And Joanna, it's such an honor to have you here because you have been recently awarded the Vail Valley Foundation Volunteer of the Year, which is just, I hear, an extraordinary recognition. So tell us a little bit about all of the things that you've done to be acknowledged with that award.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for the recognition. It was actually in 2020 when they awarded me Volunteer of the Year for the Vail Valley. And it really is an honor because there are so many amazing volunteers in this community. One of the reasons I was awarded this is because I have been the volunteer coordinator for the Winter Games, the GoPro Mountain Summer Games, the Vail Dance Festival, and then all the event volunteers for Birds of Prey. And as you know, Birds of Prey is right around the corner.
So you're not busy at all.
Not busy.
How do you find time for your day job?
Well, volunteering and supporting our volunteer community is really a passion of mine, and I just can't believe, scheduling volunteers. You call somebody and said, "Oh, can we change your schedule?" Everybody's like, "Oh, absolutely, whatever works best for you. I'm happy to volunteer anywhere." The entire community, and plus we have so many people from outside the community that volunteer at all of these events. It's truly amazing.
I can't keep up with all of those that you've mentioned, but you will see me, and I'm so excited to be part of the Birds of Prey because it took me a little while, but I figured out how to volunteer. So I am at your mercy, Joanna, and I'll be dressed warmly the entire time I'm there.
That's great.
Now, Carol, you and I have talked a little bit about how I could become more involved in the Valley, and you had mentioned the Vail 50 Club.
Right.
Maybe you'd like to mention that to our viewers.
So that was actually one of the early things that I got involved in. I think we went to the first winter we were here, we went to the winter ball in December. So one of the first events that we sort of attended, and we've met most of our close friends through Vail 50. So Vail 50 is a completely volunteer-driven social and athletic organization. They do a lot of social events both in the winter and in the summertime, and then they organize all kinds of athletic and outdoor events. They do hiking and snowshoeing, and they do skiing and backcountry skiing and biking. And so, for example, it was a great way the first summer I was here to learn all of the great hiking trails here because I didn't know where to go. So I signed up for all of these hiking trails that all these volunteers volunteer to lead. So I've learned a lot about the Valley through this organization and also made a lot of really good friends. And so, when you first join, you take advantage of it, and then as you get to know it, you start to give back. You lead hiking trips yourself, or you take over a social event that you plan, and so it's been a great opportunity for me here.
Another great tip for me when I leave the show to go find the Vail 50 Club. Joanna, when you and I were preparing for this episode, you had talked about all the different types of volunteering opportunities. And the key that struck for me is that there can be one and done, or there can be routine. Can you elaborate a little bit about those?
Absolutely. There are certain events in the Valley just happen once a year, like Birds of Prey, so people can sign up just for that event and be done with it. Or there are other opportunities, for example, with Youth Power 365 or at the Community Foundation or at Habitat for Humanity, where you can sign up and commit regularly or once a month. So it's really, there are so many opportunities that can work with your schedule.
That's perfect for someone like me. And also, what are the different types of volunteering? I think when we chatted, there's youth, there's health, there's volunteering with animals, the food bank, your own personal resources. Maybe you could elaborate on that a little bit.
I really look at volunteering in different categories. Like some of the items you just talked about, mentioned, are community involvement. Like what can you do in the community to make it better for the fellow residents? Other opportunities are arts, and that's when you look at things like Bravo and the dance festival, and then entertainment. There's opportunities there, and then athletics. And then I look at things like the races that go on in the community and Birds of Prey and the GoPro Mountain Games. So I've never seen a community that has so many different opportunities.
So no one can be bored here in this valley at all. There's always something for everyone to do, besides the things that they love to do anyway. So.
Yes, yeah, and it's really fun because so many volunteers volunteer for different organizations. I mean, you might go to one event and you're like, oh, we were just volunteering at this event, or we just saw each other at Club 50 yesterday.
Right.
So.
Yes. I was just saying to Joanna earlier, I was at the community market volunteering yesterday, and out of the 4 people that were volunteering, I knew 2 of them,
Oh, wow.
one through tennis and one through Vail 50. So, and that happens all the time here. I think volunteering helps you feel so much a part of this community, and it's really an easy thing to do. It's a really easy thing to get into here.
What's a brief description of the community market? Because I haven't even heard about that yet.
So I started volunteering there during COVID. Their main office, or their main market, is in Gypsum, and they opened up a satellite office in Edwards during the pandemic. So I started volunteering there, and like everything else, they make it so easy. You can come once a week if you want, or you can sign up when you have time to do it. There are 2-hour shifts, and it's wonderful because it's set up like an actual market. So you walk in, and there's produce, and there's pantry items, and milk, and there's some sort of personal care items. And you go in there and you get a little shopping basket and you shop for what you need. And there's no requirement. You don't have to fill out paperwork. I mean, they have you sign in, but that's it. There's no requirement. Whoever needs it that day is welcome to come in and get what they need. And you go and you bag beans, or you do produce, you cut up produce, or it's wonderful.
And it's fun because we've talked about 2 different types of volunteering. One where they're activity-based, or they're part of the foundation. I think Walking Mountains also has quite a lot of volunteer opportunities. But the one that you just mentioned, Carol, is one that I just haven't heard a lot about, and that's really giving back truly to the community. And it's not just the holidays. I'm from the Northeast, and so I always think about the holidays as when a lot of people volunteer their time. But this sounds like it's something that you can do year round if you want to.
Well, and I was happy to add that to my sort of puzzle, because sometimes you do feel like, do they really need us at the Birds of Prey? Is that really giving back to the part of the community that really needs us? So the community market was a different part of volunteering that sort of rounded it out for me a little bit.
So ladies, what is the one epiphany that you've had about yourself since you started volunteering here in Vail? Joanna.
I had no idea what an organized person I was.
I love that.
I literally had no idea. I am an Excel spreadsheet person. I like everything organized. I like deadlines met. And I think that that's a skill set that I bring to organizing volunteers.
I love hearing that, because it sounds like you wouldn't have gotten that with your day job, or you wouldn't have realized that about yourself during your day job.
Right.
That's wonderful. So Carol, what about you?
I think for me, I didn't realize when I moved here how big a part of my life volunteering would become and how much of a sense of community that would give to me. Um, Volunteering for Bravo is not outside my comfort zone. It's what I did in my career. But I was thinking about the very first day that I volunteered for Birds of Prey, and it was snowing like crazy. And it was so beautiful. And I'm standing at the bottom of this world-class racer, and I'm like, I would never have gotten to do this in New York. Like, this was something different and completely wonderful. So it's been nice to kind of go outside my box also.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Ladies, thank you so much for joining us and providing us with your personal insight. I know I've learned a ton, and I can't wait to see you both at Birds of Prey this year, and I will be dressed warm. And I hope this provides you with a little insight about ways that you can give back and find your passion here in the Valley. This is Cece Zach with Good Evening Vail. Thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you in our next episode for you to find ways to thrive in the mountain. Cheers.